The deep silence of space surrounded Lieutenant Marcus Hale as he sat alone in the cockpit of his small patrol craft. Stars stretched like frozen sparks across the darkness, each one so far away that their light seemed eternal. Hale had grown used to this silence. In fact, he liked it. The Navy called it lonely duty, but for Marcus it was peaceful. After years of crowded stations and noisy barracks, solitude was his friend. His patrol route was simple. Watch the asteroid belt, near Sector Theta 9, scan for pirates or smugglers and report anything unusual. Most days nothing happened at all, but on this day, something appeared on his sensors, a faint distress signal, weak and almost lost in the static. Marcus leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. It wasn't a human beacon. The code was different, sharper, filled with odd harmonics. His ship's computer struggled to translate. "Unknown vessel detected," the computer finally announced in its flat voice. Marcus adjusted his course. "Unknown or not, a distress call is a distress call," he muttered. As his craft cut through the field of drifting rocks, the source of the signal came into view. At first it looked like a broken satellite, but as he drew closer, the shape grew clearer. It was a ship, but unlike any human design. Sleek lines, curved surfaces, and glowing panels made it look more like a living creature than a machine. Yet now it floated lifeless, half hidden by tumbling asteroids. Parts of its hull were torn open, flickering with dying sparks. Something terrible had happened. Marcus's heart raced. The Navy had warned of alien sightings, but most were rumors, ships glimpsed at a distance, shadows on scanners. Now right in front of him was proof. And not just proof, but a vessel in distress. He hesitated for only a moment. Protocol said to wait for backup. Logic said to leave before whatever destroyed this ship came back. But his instincts told him someone inside might still be alive, and Marcus Hale had never been the kind of man to turn away. He guided his craft alongside the alien ship and activated the docking clamps. The clang of metal meeting metal echoed through his hull. Then came silence again, heavy and waiting. "All right," Marcus said to himself, pulling on his helmet. "Let's see who needs help." He stepped through the airlock into darkness. The alien corridors were strange. Walls made of smooth black material that seemed to absorb light. His boots echoed as he walked, and every sound felt too loud in the silence. Emergency lights flickered, casting long shadows. Broken panels sparked, filling the air with the sharp smell of ozone. Then he heard it. A faint sound, almost like a groan. He followed it through the corridor until he reached a chamber that must have been the control room. There, lying against a shattered console, was a figure. At first Marcus thought it was a machine. The figure was encased in a sleek exosuit, glowing faintly from within. But then the figure moved, weakly, painfully. A hand lifted, trembling. The sound came again, clearer this time. It was a voice, speaking in a language he did not know. But the meaning was obvious. Help. Marcus rushed forward and knelt beside the alien. The suit was cracked, leaking a faint mist that hissed into the air. He could see the problem immediately. The life support systems were failing. Whatever this being was, it would not survive long. "Easy," Marcus said gently, though he knew the alien might not understand. "I've got you." His training as an engineer guided him. He examined the suit quickly, tracing the flow of energy, studying the damaged components. The design was unlike anything he had seen, yet the principles were familiar. Oxygen feed, temperature regulators, pressure seals. The alien had built these things differently, but the purpose was the same: to keep someone alive in the cold of space. Marcus pulled out his toolkit. Working fast, he patched the leaking seals with emergency gel. He rerouted power around the damaged circuits, using his own spare cells to boost the failing systems. His hands moved with calm precision, even though his heart pounded. The aliens. Breathing grew shallow, then steadier as the repairs took effect. Finally, after long minutes, the suit's glow brightened. The hiss of escaping air stopped. The figure's chest rose more smoothly. The being inside was stabilizing. Marcus exhaled a long breath. There. That should hold you for now. The alien's helmet shifted slightly. Through a cracked visor, Marcus glimpsed eyes, bright, shining, not human at all, but filled with intelligence. They focused on him, filled with surprise and something else. Perhaps disbelief. For a long moment, the alien simply stared at him. Then, slowly, a hand lifted again, not shaking this time, but steady. It touched his arm, a gesture so simple, yet so powerful. Gratitude needed no translation. Marcus gave a small smile. You're welcome. He knew this was only the beginning. Questions flooded his mind. Who was this being? What had attacked their ship? And what would happen now that a human had crossed paths with an alien crew? But those questions would have to wait. For now he had done what mattered most. He had saved a life, and in the endless silence of space, that was enough. The hum of the alien suit filled the ruined chamber, a low, steady sound that told Marcus the life support system was holding. He stayed kneeling near the alien, ready to act if the repairs failed. The cracked visor still glowed faintly, and the pair of bright eyes inside continued to study him. Marcus felt the weight of that gaze. It was not just curiosity. It was something deeper, surprise, maybe even disbelief, that a human had chosen to risk his own life to save a stranger. The alien raised one hand slowly, pointing at the patched repairs Marcus had made. A strange melodic voice filled the air, still speaking in words Marcus could not understand. Then the alien pressed something on their wrist panel and the suit hissed and shifted. Wait, Marcus said quickly. Don't move too much, the suit is barely holding together. But the alien did not stop. The armor plates folded back with a soft click. The glow of the suit faded, and for the first time Marcus saw the being without the protective shell. At first, he thought the alien was removing armor. But as the layers unfolded, he realized it was more than that. The exosuit was not only a machine, it was part of their identity, a shield and a mask. And now, right in front of him, the being was stepping out of it. The figure that emerged was tall, with smooth, pale skin that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Lines of soft bioluminescence ran across the alien's body like living circuits, glowing blue and silver. Their eyes, larger than human eyes, shone with a quiet fire. It was not frightening. It was striking. Marcus froze. He had expected to see a wounded soldier. Instead, he saw something far more vulnerable. Whoever this being was, they had chosen to show themselves to him in a way that felt sacred. The alien placed one hand against their chest where the glow was strongest, then extended the same hand toward Marcus. A gesture, a message, gratitude. Marcus's throat felt dry. You don't have to do this, he whispered, though he knew they couldn't understand his words. Still, he sensed the meaning. The alien was unclothing not to expose weakness, but to express thanks. The act carried weight, though Marcus did not yet know how much. Behind him, the wrecked ship groaned, as if to remind him that they were not safe. Sparks leapt from broken consoles, and the low hum of failing systems echoed through the chamber. Marcus forced himself to focus. All right, he muttered. You're alive, but we can't stay here. He tapped his wrist communicator, linking back to his patrol craft. The computer confirmed a stable docking connection. He looked at the alien again. Come on. You need to get to my ship. We'll get you safe. The alien tilted their head, studying him. Then slowly, they stood. Without the suit's armor, their movement seemed lighter, almost graceful, but also unsteady from injury. Marcus slipped an arm under theirs, helping to steady them. The glowing lines across their body pulsed faintly, as though reflecting their weakened state. Together they moved through the dark corridors. Every corner of the alien ship told the same story: battle damage, explosions, collapsed passageways. Marcus wondered what kind of enemy could have done this. Whoever it was, they had power enough to nearly destroy a vessel far more advanced than anything humans had built. As they walked, Marcus noticed the alien glancing at him often, not with fear but with a strange curiosity. It was as though they were trying to understand him just as much as he was trying to understand them. At last, they reached the docking passage. The sight of his own ship brought Marcus a flicker of relief. He guided the alien inside, and the hatch sealed behind them. The soft, familiar lights of his patrol craft were a comfort after the haunting silence of the alien vessel. The alien stopped just inside the airlock, their glowing eyes scanning the small human ship. Then they turned back to Marcus. Without words, they placed both hands over their chest again, bowing their heads slightly. The gesture seemed formal, deliberate. Marcus realized something then. This was not just gratitude. This was a ritual. By shedding their armor, by revealing their true form, the alien had performed a cultural act of deep trust. And now, repeating the gesture in his ship, they were sealing that trust. He exhaled slowly. "Guess I'm part of something bigger now," he murmured. The alien tilted their head, as though hearing his tone, if not his words. Then they sat carefully in the co-pilot seat, their glowing lines dimming as they leaned back, clearly exhausted. Marcus checked the navigation system. He needed to get clear of the asteroid belt and back to human-controlled space. But his thoughts kept drifting back to what had just happened. In all of humanity's history, no one had ever made true contact like this. Rumors and reports had existed, yes, but he had met one face to face, and they had trusted him enough to unclothe themselves. The weight of that choice pressed on him. What would happen if others found out? Would the aliens' people see this as betrayal? Would Earth's government see it as an opportunity? The alien shifted slightly in the seat, their luminous eyes watching him again. There was no fear in them now, only a calm certainty, as though the bond between them had already been sealed. Marcus looked back at the stars outside, endless and cold. Somewhere out there, danger still waited, the same dangers that had torn the alien ship apart. But here, in this small vessel, something new had begun. Not just survival, not just rescue, a fragile trust. And though Marcus did not yet understand the full meaning of what the alien had done, he felt sure of one thing: their meeting would change everything. The journey back to open space was tense. Marcus guided his patrol craft carefully through the asteroid belt, each rock drifting dangerously close to the fragile hull. The alien sat quietly in the co-pilot seat, glowing lines across their body pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat. Marcus glanced at them now and then. They had not spoken since leaving the wreck. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe the language barrier was too strong. But the silence was not empty. It carried weight, like the calm before a storm. Finally, the ship broke, free of the asteroids. Stars opened wide before them, clear and endless. Marcus exhaled a breath he had been holding for too long. Safe, at least for now, he muttered. The alien turned their head toward him. Their glowing eyes studied him closely, as if they understood more than he thought. Then, without warning, they pressed a sequence on the wristband still attached to their arm. A signal burst through the comm system. Marcus stiffened. "Hey, what did you just do?" The answer came moments later. His scanners lit up with new contacts. Large vessels appeared on the edge of his radar, closing fast. They were not human ships. Their designs matched the wrecked vessels, sleek, curved, radiant with alien light. Marcus's stomach tightened. Reinforcements. Within minutes, 3 massive alien ships surrounded his small craft. Their presence filled the void like predators circling prey. A deep voice came through the comms, speaking in the same melodic language. The alien beside Marcus responded, their voice firm but calm. Marcus could not understand the words, but he understood the tone. Orders, demands, and anger. The comms cut off. A tractor beam gripped his craft, pulling it toward one of the larger vessels. Marcus gritted his teeth but did not resist. His tiny ship would not last seconds against their... The docking was rough. Metal clanged as his ship was locked into place. Moments later, the hatch hissed open. Marcus stood heart-pounding as a squad of armored aliens entered. Their weapons glowed with energy, and their movements were sharp, disciplined. They spoke, rapidly, to the alien who had traveled with him. She, Marcus realized now it was a she, answered firmly, her voice steady. The soldiers hesitated, then gestured for Marcus to follow. He had no choice. They marched him through gleaming corridors far different from the wreck he had seen before. These ships were alive with energy, humming with strength. Everything shone, with smooth perfection, yet the atmosphere felt cold, unwelcoming. At last they reached a great chamber. High ceilings arched above, glowing panels lit the walls, and a group of alien leaders stood in a semicircle. Their armor was finer, their glow stronger. Authority radiated from them. Marcus's companion stepped forward and spoke. Her words flowed like music, clear and confident. She gestured toward him more than once, her voice rising, sharp with defiance. The leaders answered with stern tones. Their eyes turned to Marcus, some filled with suspicion, others with outright hostility. One even stepped closer, pointing at him with something that looked like an energy staff. Marcus stood tall. He couldn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. They did not want him here. They did not approve of what had happened. Finally, his companion did something unexpected. She stepped away from the leaders, turned toward Marcus, and raised both hands to her chest again. The same gesture she had shown him earlier, the ritual of trust. The chamber fell silent. The leaders stiffened, their glowing eyes widened in shock. Marcus realized what was happening. This uncloaking gesture was not casual, it was sacred. And by showing it to him, a human, she had broken a boundary no outsider was meant to. Across the leaders began to argue, their voices sharp and heated. Marcus's companion raised her voice in return, matching them. Her tone carried pride and determination. Though Marcus could not understand the words, he understood her meaning. It was her choice. Minutes passed in tense debate. Finally, the chamber quieted. One leader, taller than the rest, stepped forward. He spoke slowly, carefully, as if weighing each word. Marcus's companion answered, her tone softer now but firm. Then she turned to Marcus and gave a small nod, urging him to stay calm. The soldiers lowered their weapons, but the air remained heavy with distrust. Marcus felt the weight of it pressing on his shoulders. He had not meant to break their traditions, he had not even known them. Yet here he was, caught in the center of something larger than himself. When the meeting ended, the soldiers escorted Marcus and his companion out. They were not thrown in a cell, but neither were they free. The unspoken warning was clear. He was under watch. Back in the quieter corridors, Marcus finally spoke, even though he knew she couldn't understand his words. "You took a risk back there," he said softly. "For me. Why?" She looked at him, eyes glowing faintly. Slowly, she lifted her hand again, repeating the sacred gesture one more time. Then she touched the cracked wristband at her side, pressing a sequence. A small holographic display appeared, symbols shifting into a translation grid. After a few seconds, words began to form in rough English. Her voice followed, broken but clear enough. "You saved me," she said. "Trust is mine to give." Marcus stared at her, stunned. The meaning was simple yet powerful. Despite the anger of her leaders, despite the risk, she had chosen to stand by him. For the first time since leaving Earth, Marcus felt the shape of something greater forming around him. Not just survival, not just rescue. A bridge. A fragile connection between two species that had never trusted each other. And it had started with a broken suit and one act of human compassion. The alien fleet drifted like silent giants in the endless dark. From the viewing port, Marcus Hale could see their massive forms glowing faintly, their curved hulls alive with shifting lights. His small patrol craft, now locked inside one of their hangars, looked like a child's toy compared to them. He stood beside Solari, the alien commander whose life he had saved, waiting in a long hall of crystal walls and glowing floors. Around them, guards stood motionless, their eyes never leaving him. Every step he took, every breath he made felt judged. At the far end of the hall, great doors opened. Solari gestured for him to follow. Inside was another chamber, larger and more magnificent than any he had seen. A council of alien leaders sat on raised platforms, their luminous forms glowing brighter than the others. Their voices filled the chamber, melodic yet sharp, speaking words Marcus still could not understand. Solari translated slowly through her wristband's device. The voice that came out was broken, mechanical, but enough. They say, "Your presence here is dangerous." They say, "You should not have seen what you saw." Marcus folded his arms. "I didn't ask for this. I just fixed a broken suit." Solari's glowing eyes softened. "They know, but to them, it is more. You touched a sacred boundary." The council leader, taller and brighter than the rest, spoke again. His tone was heavy with command. Solari listened, then turned to Marcus. "They give one chance, a test, to prove if your kind has honor." Marcus's jaw tightened. "What kind of test?" Solari hesitated before answering. "Our fleet uses wormhole gates. One is broken, energy unstable. If not fixed, many will die. They want you to repair it." Marcus blinked. "Me? Alone?" She nodded. "Yes. If you succeed, they may accept you. If you fail, they will send you away. Or worse." Marcus almost laughed. Fixing alien life support gear was one thing, but repairing a wormhole gate, a structure built with technology centuries beyond human reach, sounded impossible. Yet, as he looked at Solari, he saw the quiet faith in her glowing eyes. She believed in him. He straightened. "All right. Show me the problem." The wormhole gate hung in the dark, like a broken crown. Its vast, ring-shaped structure spun slowly, sparks of unstable energy bursting across its surface. Streams of light flickered in and out, collapsing before they could form a stable tunnel. Marcus floated in a small shuttle with Solari, studying the readouts. His human scanners struggled to interpret the alien designs, but the basic truth was clear. The gate's energy conduits were collapsing under stress. If the core failed, the entire structure would tear itself apart, along with anyone nearby. Solari looked at him, her voice quiet. "Even our best cannot fix it. Too dangerous, too complex. They want to see if human mind can find a way no one else sees." Marcus frowned at the display. "So they want me to fail?" "Perhaps," Solari admitted. "But perhaps they want to know if hope exists. Your kind thinks different." Marcus smirked faintly. "Thinking different is just another way of saying we make things up as we go." He pulled out his tools, connecting his systems to the alien gate. Warnings filled his screen. The energy core was too unstable to shut down fully. Direct repairs risked triggering a chain reaction. Most engineers would have stopped there. But Marcus had grown up fixing broken engines with nothing but scrap metal and tape. He didn't need perfection. He needed survival. "All right," he muttered. "If I can't shut it down, maybe I can bleed the energy off instead." Using parts from his own ship's spare cells, he rigged a bypass, something crude, not elegant, but fast. He rerouted unstable energy flows into controlled loops, letting the excess bleed safely into the void. His hands moved quickly, guided more by instinct than calculation. The gate shuddered. Lights flickered. For a moment, Marcus thought it would explode. But then, slowly, the unstable streams began to settle. The sparks grew weaker. The gate's core stabilized, humming with steady power. Solari's eyes widened. "You did it." Marcus exhaled a shaky breath. "For now. It's not perfect, but it'll hold until your engineers rebuild it properly." Back in the council chamber, the leaders listened as Solari explained what had happened. Murmurs spread through the chamber, glowing figures shifting in surprise. The tall leader stood, his voice echoing with authority. Solari translated. "They say, no one of our kind thought to do this. Too simple, too dangerous. But you You saw the path. Marcus shrugged. Sometimes the simple path is the only one you've got. The leader stepped closer, his glowing eyes locked on Marcus. After a long silence, he spoke again. Solari's translation came slowly. They will not call you enemy. Not today. You have shown humans may have value, but trust is not yet won. Marcus nodded. Fair enough. Trust takes time. The leader turned away, but not before giving Marcus a final look, one that carried both respect and warning. When the council dismissed them, Solari walked beside Marcus through the corridors. The guards no longer pointed weapons at him, though their eyes still watched closely. You have changed something, Solari said softly. They will not forget this, nor will I. Marcus gave a tired smile. Guess I passed your test. She tilted her head, her luminous lines glowing brighter. No. You did more. You showed them that hope can come from places they never imagined. Marcus looked out the viewport as they passed, watching the repaired gate shimmer faintly against the stars. A fragile bridge had been saved, and maybe, just maybe, another one had begun to form between their two peoples. But deep in his chest, Marcus knew the real test was still ahead. The stars beyond the viewing port were calm again. The wormhole gate, once a flickering storm of unstable energy, now glowed with steady light. Marcus Hale sat in his patrol craft, secured inside the alien hangar once more, staring at the display screens. The repairs were holding. Ships moved carefully through the gate, one after another, their journey safe because of what he had done. He leaned back in his seat, exhaustion pressing down on him like a heavy weight. His hands still ached from the work, and his mind buzzed with the memory of alarms, sparks, and the near certainty of failure. But he had done it. Somehow, against the odds, he had succeeded. The hatch opened behind him. Solari entered the small craft, her glowing presence filling the cabin with soft light. She moved with steadier steps now, her strength returning, though the luminous lines across her skin still pulsed faintly with fatigue. They speak of you, she said, her words broken but clear enough through the translation device. All across the fleet, some with anger, some with awe, all with surprise. Marcus gave a tired half-smile. I'm used to surprising people, not always in a good way. Solari tilted her head, her eyes bright. You change their thinking. That is rare. He shrugged. I just fixed what was broken. Her gaze softened. Not just the gate. Marcus looked at her for a moment, unsure how to answer. The silence between them carried more meaning than words could. Later, they stood once more in the great council chamber. This time, the atmosphere was different. No weapons were raised against him. No voices shouted in anger. Instead, the leaders sat in silence as the tall figure, the one who had spoken most before, rose again. His words flowed like a steady river, and Solari translated with careful patience. They say, the act you did cannot be ignored. You risked your life, though you owed nothing. You saved our gate, though it was not yours. You showed a spirit we did not expect. Marcus nodded slightly. So what happens now? Solari's glow brightened. Now, they begin to speak of alliance, of opening doors, not closing them. You are not trusted yet, but you are no longer unseen. The leader's eyes burned into Marcus, unreadable but not hostile. Then he raised both hands in a gesture that Solari explained later was a sign of acceptance, though not yet friendship. It was enough. That night, though night was only measured by the fleet's cycles, Marcus sat alone in the quiet of his ship. The silence of space stretched around him, the same silence he had always loved. Yet this time it felt different. He was no longer alone in it. The hatch opened once again, and Solari stepped inside. She carried no armor, no weapons, only the quiet glow of her body. She stood before him in silence for a long moment, then raised both hands to her chest, the sacred gesture she had shown him before. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. You really don't have to keep doing that. I already understand you're grateful. Her luminous eyes held his, steady and calm. Not only thanks, she said slowly. More. She stepped closer, lowering her hands, but keeping her gaze locked on his. In my people's ways, to show the inner self is to say, I trust you. I honor you. I see you. Marcus swallowed. He was a soldier, an engineer, a man who had spent his life fixing broken machines. But he had never been prepared for this, for the weight of another culture's deepest ritual being placed in his hands. I don't know if I deserve that, he admitted softly. Solari shook her head. Deserve or not, you earned it, not by power, not by command, by choice. Her words struck him harder than any praise he had heard before. He thought back to the moment he had first seen her, broken and fading in that ruined chamber. He had acted without thinking, simply because someone needed help. That simple choice had changed everything. Solari lifted her hand once more, pressing it against her glowing chest. When I did this the first time, it was only thanks. Now, it is promise. Promise? Marcus asked. She nodded. That our people will remember, that I will remember. You gave life where there was none. You opened a path where there was only walls. I give you my vow. Marcus felt a weight lift from him, replaced by something else, something stronger, brighter. A connection, fragile but real, stretching across the gulf between two very different species. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The silence was not empty but full, carrying the quiet strength of understanding. The next day, Marcus was escorted back to his patrol craft, prepared to return to human space. Solari walked with him to the hangar, her steps calm but slow, as though she wished the moment would not come too soon. At the airlock, she paused. When your people hear of this, they will not believe. But when mine speak, the truth will grow. One day, perhaps there will be no walls at all. Marcus smiled faintly. If that day comes, I'll be glad I played a small part in it. She touched her chest again, then lowered her hand and pressed something into his palm. It was a small shard of her broken exosuit, repaired just enough to glow faintly. A piece of trust, she said simply. Marcus closed his hand around it, feeling the faint warmth. Thank you, Solari. As he stepped into his ship, he looked back one last time. Solari stood there, glowing softly against the dark metal of the hangar, her eyes bright and unwavering. A commander, a survivor, and now, something more. A bridge. Between worlds. The hatch sealed. Engines roared to life. Marcus guided his patrol craft out into the stars, carrying with him not just the memory of what had happened, but the beginning of something greater. For in the endless silence of space, trust had been born, and in that trust a new future waited.